A beautiful evening to you. You're welcome to Sport Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Kingsley Emmanuel, and I'm very happy to be here this evening to bring you up to speed with the latest revolving round the beautiful world of sport. On our menu today, we shall take a look at some done deals on transfer deadline day. Of course, you know today is transfer deadline day, and we'll take a look at the movement of players from one club, to the other. We shall also take a look at all the stories are revolving around the beautiful world of sport. Don't forget, the Paralympic, of course, is on Team Nigeria. Of course, making sure, trying to get, something this time around. The Under-20 Athletic Championship is also on. We'll take a look at it, not forgetting the ever-exciting US Open. It promises to be an exciting one tonight, so we'll urge you to sit tight as we have a lot for you. We'll take a short break, and when we'll come back from the break, we'll unravel all that you need to know revolving around the beautiful world of sport. Stay with us, we'll be right back. You're welcome back. Steve Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. And joining me to do justice on today's edition of the show is Emmanuel Michael. Michael, a beautiful evening to you. How are you feeling? Today's transfer deadline day. What's the feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm just waiting for my agent, Kingsley, to get, the paperwork done and dusted. Because for me, there are so many Saudi clubs that have come for my services, but I'm still waiting for my agent to finalize the paperwork. Good evening to you, Kingsley, and good evening to our viewers. There's always a delightful moment doing this with you.
Of course, Saudi is where the money is. Players looking forward to go down there to make money. And Victor Osimhen, we hear, is at the verge of getting to Saudi, but at least before 11 p.m. tonight, we'll definitely know his destination at the end of the day. But before we talk about the transfer deadline day, let's take a look at some happenings as it concerns sports down here in Nigeria. The Nigerian women's basketball team, the Tigress, has soared to 8th place in the world following a stellar performance at the 2024 Paris Olympics. This impressive leap of 4 sports cements their status among the top 10 teams globally, making them the first African team, male or female, to achieve this milestone in the FIBA award rankings. Michael, first, after that performance, at the Olympic, we saw them, of course, making the top 10 in the list, but now they are now 8th according to the FIBA ranking. What do you make of this, step for the Tigers of Nigeria?
I think for me it's a step in the right direction, a very big move for the Tigers, the courtesy of their impressive performance in the just concluded Paris Olympic game, where they were pitted against some of the best team in the world, the likes of Australia, the likes of France, to name them. But then in a very tough group they find themselves, but they were able to come out of that group, even progress to the quarterfinal, first in the history of any African team to do that, both in the male and female category. Was a very stellar display from the Tigers, and for me that has also cemented their position as one of the best teams in the world as it is right now. So their leap is not a surprise, neither is it by fluke. It's actually boiled down to their impressive performance so far. So for me, and I think I'm very happy, but then we need to also try to fine-tune, to find a way to also maintain this impressive and good news that we've seen. Having seen that there is a whole lot that is required from the Tigers team as it is right now, because if we are playing any other championship, people will now begin to see us as a force. It simply means that to whom much is given, much is expected. Now that you have made it to the top 10, it means that the rest of the world will then be afraid of you. That requires consistency for us to maintain that height that we've attained right now, which for me boils down to the Nigerian Basketball Federation to start doing the needful to get their act right. The assistant coach talking about the daughter of the legendary, basketballer, talking about, Hakeem Olajuwon. She's having a little issue with the NBBF assistant right now because she's crying for some of her gratuities that is due her to be paid. We also hear that she has been yanked off the WhatsApp handle of the WhatsApp group of the Nigerian basketball. And
this is not what we need at this point. It's not what we should be having at this this point.
It is not. This is not what we should be facing at this point, because she has taken it not hard to take this fight to the social media to expose this rot in the system out there. And of course, there is one thing about us right here in our sport administration, whatever category or whatever sporting unit you find yourself, whenever you discover that you just come out to talk about the ills that is happening within the certain sporting federation, the next thing is that they bar you. It's either from not being part of the national team any longer, or they begin to segregate you in different areas, which for me I think is not the right thing to do. That somebody spotted something that he feels that is not for the good of the game, it's not for the progress, it's not going to help the team or even the federation itself going forward. And the person pointed out this thing, that this is an error that I'm sensing and it's not going to be good for us if we continue to follow that line of negativity. The next thing, instead of taking correction, they would rather turn against you to begin to fight you, which for me, it doesn't make sense at all. She came out to make a very simple statement that is very, very acceptable and a just one. But then they kicked against it. The way they've been treating her, I think for me, this is not the right way to go. And she has been part and parcel of this success team. Don't forget, this same Tigress, won the last Afro basketball championship here in Africa within the shortest space of time that they had. But yet, Renan Wakama was still able to galvanize the team, despite the fact that most of the players were just coming together for the first time after the disbandment, after some members of the team have been disbanded just because they expressed their frustration of not being able to take part in the World Cup games where they actually qualify, but because of leadership tussle, they couldn't take part in it. If you were in their position, you won't be happy about it. So when you come out to voice your displeasure about the way things are being run, they make you as an scapegoat, which for me is not going to be for the benefit of the sport entirely. So instead of focusing on the negativity, why not we build on the positive angle of what we've achieved in the last Olympic game, which is that our ranking right now is very high. What must we do to be able to maintain this fine form is what we should be talking about. And this is where you need to rally around. Call everybody that is involved, the stakeholders, both the coach and the coaching crew, the players as well. Let us sit in a round table discussion and chart a way forward. Look at the level that we have attained because of the impressive performance of what you girls did at the just concluded Paris Olympics. What do you think we will do or we can do going forward to be able to sustain this fine form and this fine name that we brought to the country? And everybody will bring their own idea and contribute their own opinion, and so doing we can push forward in a positive way. So I think this is what we should be doing, rather than focusing on some destructive element or try to kick against somebody just because she aired her opinion, and you begin to segregate her, which for me it is not the right way to go. But one thing is very certain, that we are moving. There is a step further from what we saw in the past, and that is why we've made it to the top 8 in the world ranking, meaning that there is progress. Can we build on this? It remains a question to be answered by the NBBF.
Let's see how it goes. We hope that the Nigerian Basketball Federation will put this in place, because this is not what we expect, especially at the moment where the Tigers of Nigeria are doing so well in the world stage. Away from that, Team Nigeria experienced mixed results on the first day of the ongoing Paris Paralympic, having competed in the para badminton and para table tennis events. At the La Chapelle Arena, Kotri, Nigeria's Enola Bolaji Mariam had a strong start in the women's singles SL3 group stage. Securing her first win to advance to the next stage, she faced India Kumar Madip and dominated from the beginning, with the game ending 21-8, 21-14 in Bolaji's favor. In the men's single SL4 group stage, Chigozie Jeremiah also put on a great performance, defeating Germany Marcel Adam 2-0. It ended 21-12, 21-15. However, in the men's double para table tennis round of 16, Nigeria's Kayode Alabi and Victor Aforiloye faced a tough match against China Zheng Zhenhong and Wen and Peng, who won 3-0. In the mixed doubles match, Great Britain Joshua Stelzy and Blay Wome secured a 3-1 victory over Nigeria's Kayode Alabi and Faith Obusoya. Well, the mixed results, of course, in day one of the Paralympics, Michael, for Team Nigeria. What do you make of the performance from the badminton players and the table tennis players?
Mixed results indeed, and for me, I think there's still more time for us to, look on the brighter side. Though it is not the best possible way we should have expected, or rather, we expected some of the players to, start off. But then, I think it's just still a virgin. The competition is still very virgin. Like you rightly said, it was a mixed result out there. But I still strongly hope that we can build on the past achievement of the Paralympic team of Nigeria. When you talk about the basketball, the table tennis, event in the Paralympic, I think we have a very good record in that regard. So I'm believing that we can build on this going forward, despite the poor start so far, where some of the players or some of the mixed double team that you expect at least to start in a very positive way, but then some of them couldn't live up to the expectation. But like I said, it's still very much early. We can still build on the past achievement, and I still strongly believe that this year's edition will definitely surpass the last year's edition. Last outing edition, where we were able to, amass a total number of 10 medals, which include 4 goals. So, like I said, it's still very fresh, and there's still lights at the end of the tunnel for Team Nigeria.
Still lights at the end of the tunnel for Nigerian Paralympic team in Paris. We hope, of course, that they get things right going forward. But away from that, Team Nigeria experienced a blend of outcome on day 2 of the ongoing World Under-20 Athletics Championship in Lima, Peru. Priscilla Oshonago finished 5th in the women's long jump with a 6.21 meters leap, while Josina Oyepo Obeyan took 7th in women's 100 meters final with 11.63 seconds. Ella excelled, securing a spot in the women's 400 meters final with a 2nd place finish in her semi-final, showing strong medal potential. In the men's 400 meters, Gafa Badmos placed 5th in his semi-final heats, missing the finals, while Caleb Joshua, who initially placed 3rd in his heat, was eventually disqualified for a lane infringement. Oseo Salami and Taiwo Mary finished 7th in their heat with time of 54.06 seconds and 1 minute 1.51 seconds down there. 1.51 seconds in the men's and the women's 400 meters hurdles respectively. All right, let's stay away from the Under-20 Athletic Championship. Let's take a look at tennis. Not a very rosy one at this point, especially for World number 3, Carlos Alcaraz. He was ousted out today by a Dutch tennis player who is ranked 73, I think 74, yes, in the world. Talking about Boastic van der Schoelp, the Dutchman, Austin Carlos Alcaraz. Michael, what do you make of it? Did you see this coming for Alcaraz?
Not at all, Kingsley. I didn't see this one coming for Carlos Alcaraz, especially taking a look at his last form at the just concluded Paris Olympic game, where he got to the final. Don't forget, he was in the final in the just concluded Paris Olympic game, where he was defeated by the eventual winner, talking about Novak Djokovic. Coming at the back heel of that impressive show, they just concluded Paris Olympic game, to the last Grand Slam of the year, where so many persons were hoping that some of these big name players is going to make it. In fact, this year's US Open, I expect it to be one of the toughest and one of the most exciting. Why? Because this is the last Grand Slam of the year. 2, because some of the players who couldn't do well in the just concluded Paris Olympic Games should have used this as a platform to make a statement of intent by finishing very strong for the year. Then again, some of the players that took part in the Olympic, they were still very fresh. Some of them were still even coming back from playing, like Carlos Alcaraz. So you expected Carlos Alcaraz to at least make up for losing the final against Novak Djokovic in the Paris Olympic game by dusting or brushing aside every opponent that comes his way in the US Open. But unfortunately, seeing a player ranked 74th beating Carlos Alcaraz, I mean, this is more like a shocker, for me. The biggest shocker for this year, because I think if you take away the fact that Jannik Sinner defeated Novak Djokovic in the Australian Open this year, maybe that is one of the biggest upset, you may say. But then for Carlos Alcaraz, who got to the final of the Olympic game,
is it really a big upset?
It's a big
Jannik
one.
Sinner, Austin Djokovic in the Australian Open final.
For sure. Jannik Sinner is a big upset. Why? Because nobody saw that one coming. And again, considering
but when you take a look at their ranking, Sinner was, I think, was it the world number one then? Was that world number one or world number two?
It was world number one then.
If a world number one should all start in world number two or world number three, I believe Djokovic was at that time, for me, it's not really an offset.
No, you have to go back and check their form. Building up to that game, Djokovic have never lost to Jannik Sinner, in the last 3 good years. He was on record, and so many persons actually tipped Novak Djokovic to make it more like a light walk, in that very game. That is why, if you take a look at some of, the analysts, some octopus were actually giving it in favor. In fact, there was a poll that was conducted on a certain tennis channel, and the outcome of that poll was from 1 to 10. Between Novak Djokovic and Jannik Sinner, who was going to win. In fact, Novak Djokovic had about 8.5% of the vote that he was going to win, leaving a slim of 1.5% to Jannik Sinner. And that is why it was one of the biggest shock for the season. Then, moving on to the crux of the matter, which is about Carlos Alcaraz losing to a 74th ranked player. I said it's one of the biggest upset for this season. Why? Because Carlos Alcaraz, coming back from getting to the final of the Olympic game, and also world number 3, because he has been dethroned from 2nd to 3rd right now, because don't forget, immediately Jannik Sinner defeated Novak Djokovic. Jannik Sinner automatically assumed that world number 1 ranking, thereby pushing Novak Djokovic to number 3, and Carlos Alcaraz was number 2. Now that Novak Djokovic got to the the Olympic final and eventually won it, now he has resumed back to world number 2 and pushing back Carlos Alcaraz to world number 3. So take a look at the disparity and the pace, the distance between 3 and 74th. And this is a player that is not even known, a player that haven't even taken part in some of the major competitions so far for this season, or coming to defeat a renowned player who is ranked world number 3 that just finished getting to the final against one of the best players in the whole world, which is Carlos Alcaraz. It's not less than 3 weeks that the Paris Olympic game just finished. And you expected him to at least come up with that vibe of still being fresh, that he was still on the, he just finished the Olympic game. I mean, it was one of the biggest shock for me. So for me, I think Carlos Alcaraz, need to blame himself. And courtesy of this defeat, he might possibly be drifting away from, his position as it is right now, despite the fact that this is the last Grand Slam of the season. But then I think it was a very, very poor display from Carlos Alcaraz.
After that defeat, of course, he came out to say that his loss is due to the fact that he's been so consistent this year, and there might be a little bit of fatigue, in this one. But he also said that that is not an excuse, that he was supposed to, of course, get past his opponent, looking at the fact that he's well ranked and, of course, a better player anytime, any day on paper than the man. But we'll see what comes up for the man.
Yeah, I think for me, being exhausted, it is part and parcel of the game, but you can never on the court out there, because they don't forget a whole lot of money comes with this very one, plus the points ranking as well, because most of these players outside the monetary attachment, then some of these players want to also finish very high for the season, by racking up this point to what you had already. If you put that together, at least it gives you a leeway to at least a good step closer to maybe world number 2 or world number 1 assistant. But then I think the excuse of playing consistently for the last few months right now, I think for me, if you want to become a champion and maintain that championship that you are, maintain the dignity, I think you need to also be very consistent. Though he says shortly after that he need a very good rest. Probably that is what you need this time around, and that is why maybe he just lost the match deliberately so that you go for a rest.
But he shouldn't get the rest, in earnest. But being too relaxed, he shouldn't relax that much, because if he does, probably might be much rusty, or he needs to, of course, keep on training, which of course he will. But earlier, world number 1, Yannick Sinner, at Class American Alex Merkelsen 6-4, 6-low, 6-2 for his 50th victory of the year. Australian Open champion Sinner is playing at his fourth tournament since it emerged. He had been cleared of any wrongdoing after twice testing positive for a banned substance earlier this year. The 23-year-old will play Australian Chris O'Connell in the 3rd round in New York, as well Russian 4th seed Daniil Medvedev entertained the crowd on Otto Ashe Stadium in a 6-3, 6-2, 7-6 win against Hungary's Fabian Marazan. 7th seed Hubert Huskers was knocked out in a 7-6, 6-4, 6-1, 7-5 defeat by Australian Jordan Thompson. It is the 6th successive year that Poland's Hookers has existed at the US Open and the 2nd round. Another seed soon fell as American 16th seed Seb Koda was beaten 6-4, 6-2, 6-2, 6-4 by Czech Thomas Maciek, who will play Belgium's David Coffin in the 3rd round. There was also an upset for Frenchman Otto Fuse, a 24 seed who was defeated 7-5, 6-7, 6-4, 6-4 by world number 143 Gabriel Diallo of Canada. But there was better luck for Australian 10th seed Alistair Minot, who beat Finland Otto Vietnam 7-5, 6-1, 7-6 to set up a 3rd round meeting with Britain Dan Evans. American 14th seed Tommy Paul progressed after his Australian opponent Mars Purcell retired in the 3rd set when Paul was leading 7-5, 6-low, 1-low. Still talking about the US Open, let's take a look at the female category as top seed Iga Swiatek breezing into the 3rd round of the US Open with an emphatic win over Japanese qualifier Ena Shibahara. The 5-time major winner dropped just 1 game against Shibahara, who managed to hold serve early in the 2nd set to avoid a dreaded double bagel. Swiatek, who is 33 years, didn't face a single break point as she wrapped up the 6-love, 6-1 victory in just 65 minutes. Former Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina withdrew from her 2nd round match against France's Jessica Ponchets because of injuries. Handing the world number 143 a walkover. Ponchets will face 2-time runner-up Karolina Wozniacki after the then overcame injury struggle to beat Mexico Renata Sarasso 6-3, 6-3. Earlier, Italy 5th seed Jasmine Paolini progressed after Karolina Pliskova retired just 3 points into the 2nd round encounter. The 2016 runner-up was 30-15 down in the 1st game when she pulled up injured. Czech Pliskova requested medical treatment for her foot but was unable to continue and leap off Louis Armstrong Stadium. Paolini, a finalist at this year's French Open at Wimbledon, will face Kazakhstan Yulia Putintseva next, as where Russian 24 seed Mira Andreeva suffered a surprise 6-1, 6-4 defeat by American Ashley Kruker, who is ranked 59th in the world. 60 Jessica Pegula claimed a 7-6, 6-3 victory against fellow American Sophie Kenin, who knocked out 2021 champion Emerald Kanu in the 4th round. Japan Osaka could not topple Czech Muchova, losing 6-3, 7-5 after squandering 3 set points to force a decider. At this point, we'll take a short break. We'll come back from the break. I'll bring you the latest revolving around the beautiful world of football. Stay with us, we'll be right back. You're welcome back. See Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. Of course, we told you when we'll come back, we'll bring you the latest revolving around the beautiful world of football. Michael, the Nigerian Premier Football League, of course, will kickstart this weekend. Tomorrow, we'll see Rangers International looking on against Economy Warriors in match day 1. Just one fixture tomorrow for match day 1, and later we'll see the other fixtures for match day 1. But what do you make of the resumption of the NPFL? Because well, everyone was doubting if the league will start, but is a day to the kickoff day, and we've not heard anything from the Benga Elegbele and his board. That means tomorrow the NPFL will start.
Don't be too excited yet, because Nigeria here, in terms of organization, we can always fashion out or perform miracles. Miracles is always a very, very key in terms of Nigeria, the way we approach our things right here. So don't be too sure. But then, on a more serious note, I think I'm keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that the date that I've given is should remain sacrosanct, because it is very important. And most of the clubs out there, none of them have shown any interest, maybe writing to the league board that they are not ready. Sometime where the league body will fix a date. Some of the clubs will come to tell the league body that they are not ready, this and that. But then, I think for this season, we haven't had such complaint from any team. And the reason might not be too far, because there is a media outfit which the league body struck a deal with. And that deal is a very big deal, about 1 billion naira involved, which simply means that after taking a look at the sharing formula of that 1 billion naira, we understand that clubs, we take about 32 point something million out of that 1 billion. So if 32 point something million goes to the 20 club out there, that even give them the excitement and motivation, to even kickstart, the league in earnest. So I think this may be one of the key reasons why we haven't had any announcement from the league body that the league has been postponed from the 31st. So all things being equal, I believe that tomorrow the date is going to remain as fixed by the NPFL board, and we are going to see more of call it more like a curtain raiser, where the winner of last season edition, talking about Enugu Rangers, we trade tackles with Academy Warriors, which for me, I'm very, very, anticipating of that very one, to see what Rangers International can do, if they can be able to, start building on trying to defend the titles they won last season. And if you take a look at some of their pre-season activities so far, from all indication, it looks as though the Fidelity Lechukwu left side is very prime and very ready to defend the title they won last time out.
All right, let's see. The Nigerian Premier Football League will kickstart tomorrow, and we look forward to see what, of course, the teams involved, talking about Rangers and Academy Warriors, will do come tomorrow. But Mike, away from the Nigerian Premier Football League, let's talk about the UEFA Champions League. We saw the draws yesterday, and it looks totally different from what we used to see. I don't know what you make of it. From 32 teams now, we'll be having 36 teams fighting for the title. A lot of persons are not too abreast with this new format. I don't know if you can take us through.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm very, very excited to see this new format, and I love it. The reason why I love it, we call it UEFA Champions League. That is the name. The name UEFA Champions League. This simply means that it should be in a league format, where different clubs from different leagues out there come to vie for honor, for their respective league side out there. This year's edition is a very spectacular one, and very unique. Unique in the sense that there are so many variations, there are so many changes. One of those changes is that it has been, transmogrified from 32 teams to 36 teams. Usually, you have to maybe play 4, group group, so 4 teams in a certain group. But this time around, it's about you are going to play 8 games, 4 home games and 4 away games. And what this means is that from the 1st to 9th position, you qualify automatically. Then from 9th to 24th or 27th, thereabout, you are going to stand in for the playoff. Then from 27 to 36, you are out of the competition. I don't know if you are getting the point now. So this is the new format as it is.
I think from 1 to 8, you have automatic qualification to round of 16. And then from 9 to 24, you have to play playoffs.
It means that even playing from 9 to 24, that playoff simply means that you still have a slim hope of qualifying, because not all the the team that finished from 9 to 24 is going to qualify to join the rest of the team that are qualified for the round of 16. So it's more complex but more competitive right now as it stands. It's going to be a very exciting one, though some teams might be trying to push themselves, because this is the real true test of the Champions League, the World League. This is what we should take note of. This is more like the real Champions League, where you know that at least if you cross any group stage, then you can beat your chest and say, yes, I am indeed capable to represent my club side or a league out there in the Champions League. So for me, I think I'm falling in love with the league already. Secondly, this year's edition, we saw a little bit of twerk from the conventional way of trying to pick the draws, where ex-international will just go to the ballot, bring out the paper, unfold it, and you see the team that you have paired alongside each other. Sometimes some person think that there is a monkey business in it, because most time, especially for Arsenal fans, sorry to mention Arsenal, but most time Arsenal has been on the receiving end of being paired against some of the toughest teams. Maybe the likes of Barcelona, when Barcelona were still in their peak. Most of the time, Arsenal is going to be pitted against Barcelona, and sometimes they are being knocked out. Sometimes you see the same Arsenal be pitted against Bayern Munich, and many times you always know how it often goes. Arsenal is always at the losing end. So there were talks that there seemed to be a deliberate plan by some hands that be behind to always make these fixtures favorable to some team and make it more difficult for some team. But this time around, the interesting thing is that no human was able to pick those paper. He went through computer tests. When they press the computer turns the paper and brings it out. Any team that you see out there, this is your opponent. That is the interesting aspect of it, that the human error and the human suspect from different quarters by clubs officials, that there are some monkey business in the draw sometimes. I think that idea has been jettisoned, has been taken off the way right now. Any team that you are pitted against, that is your destiny, and you are going to fight it. So for me, I think I'm very, very excited. But another highlight of the draw yesterday was seeing Cristiano Ronaldo as well, being honored as one of the highest, in short, the highest scorer in the history of the Champions League, which for me, I think is a great milestone for Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he has also edged his name in the annals of history in terms of this very competition as well. So for me, I'm very, very excited to see that the UEFA Champions League has actually taken a different format, and I think I'm at home with this new development.
All right, so let's keep our fingers crossed and see how this season Champions League, of course, will unfold. All right, it's time for we to talk about the transfer deadline day, really getting very much busy, as one man, of course, is on the lips and on different pages of different social media pages at this point. But we have Gogo Orinemi. He's one man who is so close he's so close to you could say transfer specialist. You say Fabrizio Romano. Gogo, good evening to you and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Lee, and good evening, fans of the show. Well, I may not be Fabrizio Romano, but I'm keeping my hand, keeping everything I have before this personality because it looks like the Magdalene one is about to go down. Yes, it may be centered around maybe Victor Cement, but don't rule out any other clubs there because we have reporters in various training grounds waiting, hoping that something will break and they will be there live and direct to catch it.
All right, take us through Gogo. What's the situation of things? Let's talk about Victor Osimhen because I think he's the man for the moment as it stands, talking about this transfer deadline day. What do you make of it? We hear Saudi, they have already agreed things with Napoli, but it's left for Victor Osimhen to give the green light. We also hear Chelsea are also pushing. So we're still waiting to hear the final confirmation. What do you make of all we've seen so far, talking about Victor Osimhen's movements?
Imagine they got the match Antonio Conte, the happen because Antonio Conte is such a disciplinarian that if you don't in line, you make it online. And Victor Osimhen is someone that the little head, so two of them won't be able to come. And the nail in the coffin, maybe also they can help for Victor Osimhen, but when they signed Lukaku, Antonio Conte like Romelu Lukaku, so it was very obvious. Lukaku coming in would mean Osimhen would need to find a flaw. Now, before this summer, Osimhen was on the list of almost every top club. And then the price from their owner was close to 100 million. All of a sudden, it looks like it didn't happen last summer, and now the price of scrap is 65 to 75 million for like a release clause. The Saudis have agreed. I think Chelsea would want to go through the house of maybe a loan, but according to reports from their end, the stumbling block is the wages Osimhen is demanded. Now, the Saudis have paid their back and are willing to give him the wages he wants, but deep down I have to feel Osimhen still feels he is too young to go to Saudi. There's nothing wrong with the Saudi league if you want to cash out and you're toward the end of your career. But at the same time, for a young man with a Premier League future, you want to see him in Europe. You look at the chairman of the president of UEFA said they wish Ronaldo was still in Europe. Now, all of Cristiano Ronaldo, if he's in Saudi, it's understandable because it was difficult for his agent, Mendes, to find a club for him in Europe, especially what happened with Manchester United. But for Victor Osimhen, I tell you, there are top clubs looking for top strikers, top gunmen that he can do the job. So I think it's because there are so many offers. It's Saudi or Chelsea. On Chelsea, you have to work with the salary cap that they are offering. I'm not sure the Saudis are offering above Chelsea in terms of salary. So maybe Chelsea are offering maybe 200. The Saudis are offering way more than that. So I think he's in a dilemma, but something is telling me Victor Osimhen will stay at Napoli and he won't move because of the indecisiveness. Any deal that is supposed to be done quickly. And if he stays at Napoli, he won't go well for his career because the investors Antonio Conte will pick Lukaku over him as long as Lukaku is fit. What do I want for Victor Osimhen? I will say take the pay cut and go to Chelsea. Prove yourself. Chelsea need a goal scorer. Prove that you can be that one. You can put the ball at the back of the net. You are a better finisher than Nicolas Jackson. Why can't you go there? So I think if he doesn't find a way to sink his teeth in the Chelsea window, Napoli will be maybe forced to push him out and he may find himself in Saudi. The beautiful thing about the Saudi deal is there's a release clause for maybe an investor team to come back to him next window. But the Saudis wouldn't just want you to come and pass that there. No, want you to stay at least 1 year in families and factory ball. I would say, bro, not the bread. Go to Chelsea, then from there. But now, Chelsea is one of the most stable of environments. Because of what they are building, I cannot see it in its totality. But in terms of his options, for instance, if the team that Arsenal were coming from, I would say, yeah, most definitely go to Arsenal. Because of the persons on the table, how many top clubs in Europe need a striker right now that they're looking for Victor Osimhen? It's just Chelsea. Bayern are not looking for a 9, they already have a great. Man City are not looking for, Liverpool are not. Arsenal are supposed to be, but looks like Mikel Arteta wants to do with what he has. So he's talking between the devil and the deep blue sea. There's no way to remain at Napoli because Lukaku is there. There's also no way you want to go to Saudi because you think he's too young. Chelsea is the only option. So he will need to collect that wage cost he maybe doesn't want and then go to Chelsea. If he goes to Chelsea, he is going to score goals. With the sponsor be good enough to give him the supply he needs, we will find out how good the manager Enzo Maresca is.
All right, Gogo, we also got to report that before the transfer deadline will come to an end today, Raheem Sterling, of course, might be moving away from Chelsea, and we hear that Arsenal are trying as much as they can to bring the man to the Emirates. I don't know what you make of that move.
Now, Raheem Sterling is another funny one. Critically at the career of Raheem Sterling, and there's no club where he was lost. Now, this is not a love show, this is a sports show. But I think every footballer needs a home. Now, Raheem Sterling, as he is with Liverpool, he did well. He's supposed to be a Manchester City legend because of the trophies he won and the goals he scored. He was by better. He's Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, and Sane partnership produced goals for Manchester City. But he's not loved there. He's gone to Chelsea and he is not hit the ground running based on his high standard and he's been kicked out to the door. Raheem Sterling needs a home. Manchester United or Arsenal, I don't think these are the homes for him. If I were to be someone to advise you, I would go to a team like Aston Villa, go to a team like Newcastle. Now, these teams look like they have players in that position. But you are big name Raheem Sterling and he should be able to fight for a jersey there. Now, he is not the young of Ghana, and his ways can also become an issue. But at the same time, I think he is good enough to remain in the Premier League. So I would say it's a sad one for him, especially the fallout between him and Chelsea. Other clubs are working. No club would want to bring in someone that would disrupt the dressing room. I remember when Mario Balotelli was to move to Liverpool, the headline, so many newspapers tagged it last chance salute. Raheem Sterling is not the youngest of guys. This might be seen as a last chance salute for him to get a big check. But I also want him to go to a team where he will be valued. For instance, definitely, why can't he go to a Tottenham side? They have Timo Werner on the wings, they have Brennan Johnson. I think he can compete favorably with those guys. So I think he needs to consider his options. At the end of the day, let him not turn out to be another one that wants so many big clubs, but is loved by nobody. Because Raheem Sterling has given 2 great seasons under the right system, under the right system, under the right guidance.
All right. Lastly, before we call this a wrap on the show, go. Jordan Sancho is another man that might be moving tonight. We hear that Chelsea trying most of the can to see if they can get the man for Manchester United. Jordan Sancho, what do you make of his move this time? Do you think he will leave Manchester United?
Now, Jordan Sancho is a funny one because I thought everything that had happened would mean that he's put him and Eric Ten Hag debacle. It was behind them based on preceding and both of them are they have a handshake behind the scene. But all of a sudden it looks like Ten Hag doesn't favor you, and that is a big problem. Like Sterling, Sancho needs a home. He was at home in Borussia Dortmund. He played well even in the Champions League, but the truth of the matter is that Dortmund didn't pass his stupid, so he needs to go to a club where he would play football, and that's extremely difficult. How can he go to Chelsea with the plethora of wingers they have at their disposal? And at game time, we will see. The World Cup is by the corner. You need consistent goals. I would say find a way to Europe. Go to Juventus. The airport to Liverpool. If you go to Juve as a winger, you will get the league is probably slower at your pace. You would enjoy things there. So I would say instead of remaining in England, running on the bench, go to Juve.
Okay.
Go to maybe back to Germany. You will see good teams there that will be willing to play.
All right. All right, Gogo, thank you very much. We'll try and move again, of course, to get you back on the show, after the transfer deadline day.
Yes, hopefully it will be a Magdalene one, and we keep our fingers crossed. Brother Victor Osimhen will get the deal he's looking for, and the deal of that will lead to more good goal scoring seasons for him.
All right, thank you very much, Gogo. Michael, what do you make of the latest as it concerns the transfer deadline day, just like Gogo have said?
I think a lot. This is the rush hour of the transfer deadline where clubs are trying to see if they can be able to wrap up one or two deals out there. But for me, I am just concerned about our brother Victor Osimhen. This is the right time for him to make a move, because staying at Napoli wouldn't be of any good for him. Seeing that Anthony Conte doesn't want him, and they've also made that statement of intent by landing Romelu Lukaku from Chelsea on a permanent deal as it stands. And the Napoli fans, they are very happy. We saw them when they were welcoming Romelu Lukaku. So invariably, Victor Osimhen is surplus to requirement at Juve. The best possible way for him to go is Chelsea, because I think it's going to be the missing link for Chelsea Football Club.
All right, we'll call it a wrap up this point. We'll be back tomorrow for another exciting edition of the show. And don't forget, Pisa Unit is always the pathways to progress, but we can't go without telling that Cristiano Ronaldo is our sport extraordinaire. On today's edition of the show, he got the UEFA award yesterday for, of course, being the highest goal scorer in the history of the UEFA Champions League. 140 goals, you say, for the man in the UEFA Champions League. And with that, we'll call it a wrap. Don't forget, Pisa Unity, like I said, always the pathways to progress. My name is Kingsley Emmanuel. Thanks for watching.